Is home ownership dead in 2025? That seems to be the number one question that everyone's asking now, and rightfully so, because home prices have gone up significantly over the last few years, same with interest rates, but their job income growth hasn't gone up as much as these home prices and rates have gone up. And so, because of that reason, when new homeowners are looking for properties, they're not able to find something that fits within their budget, and they're frustrated that they cannot buy homes. And so that begs the question, is home ownership dead in 2025? Are we all going to have to end up renting a place eventually in the next 20, 30, 40 years? What does that look like in the future? So let's just unpack all of it in this video right here. And to quickly introduce myself, my name is Hayato. I manage and own a real estate fund, and over the last decade, I've been directly involved in more than 250 plus real estate transactions. And with my partners, we've collectively done over 1,000 plus deals. And in my YouTube videos and in this video as well, I try to share my firsthand experience and not theory. And here's what ownership is really looking like in 2025 in my perspective and in my opinion. So let's go over why this matters first. It's 2025, and for millions of Americans, like I mentioned before, homeownership feels way more out of reach than ever, and prices are sky high, rates are high, and wages haven't really kept up. And so while equity appreciation looks great for people who bought properties maybe 20, 30 years back, for those who are looking for homes now are looking at very, very expensive cost of ownership because of rising property taxes, insurance, and just the prices as well in general, just going up year over year. And so in many cities, it's just becoming very, very expensive to own a property, and it's starting to outweigh the benefits for most everyday Americans, even though they do want to own a property and call that home. And so let's take a look at where home ownership is struggling most and what the future might look like. And here are 5 of the most expensive cities for home ownership in 2025, just so we can see what markets we're seeing this most in. So number 1, San Jose, California. Median home prices are $1.45 million, which is insane. You can make $10,000, $20,000 a month and still be very, very house poor, because the prices of these homes are just insanely high. And so your monthly mortgage is on a 7% interest, 20% down is $7,700. If you're making $10,000 a month, $100K per year, over $100K per year, most of your paycheck is going towards your mortgage payments. And that's not even including maintenance costs and other things that come into home ownership that most homeowners don't look into. And so unless you're making $20,000 every single month, joined with maybe your spouse, it can be very, very difficult to actually own a home there. And the home prices have grown 38% since 2020. And your house to income ratio is 10 times. So meaning your homes are 10 times higher than what the average incomes are in San Jose, which is crazy. So that's number 1. Number 2, San Francisco, California. Number 3, LA. And you can see a pattern here. California is just extremely expensive to own a home out there, which is why majority of people nowadays are renting out there. And for people who do own properties, they've owned it for many, many years, 10, 20, 30 plus years. And those are the people who are reaping the benefits of the equity and appreciation. However, for people who are looking for new homes at the moment, they are struggling quite a bit. Number 4, we have New York City. And number 5, we have Seattle, Washington. And again, these major cities that we all know that were expensive have gone up in prices significantly and are affecting a lot of people with their dreams to want to own and be a part of home ownership in the US. And that's actually making a lot of people move out of some of these cities and moving into more affordable cities. So having said that, what are the 5 most affordable major cities in 2025? And are there any? And the answer is yes. There are affordable major cities still in 2025. So if you really, really want to own a home and you want to be a home owner, these are maybe 5 of the cities that you could possibly consider. living into and moving into if that is what you really, really want. So number one, Cleveland, Ohio. Medium home prices are 142,000. They have quite a large healthcare industry out there in Cleveland, Ohio. Quite stable job markets and very strong logistic industry out there too. And their income to home prices ratio is nowhere close to what the San Francisco or San Jose home to income ratio looks like. Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, median prices are 178,000. Detroit, Michigan is number 3. Number 4 is Buffalo, New York, and number 5, Indianapolis. And if you see a trend here, majority of these cities are in the Midwest. And one of the reasons why I started investing and why my partners also have invested in the Midwest is for this very reason. Number one is affordable. Number two, the rent prices are very, very in line with what people make, and home prices as well in line with what people can afford to purchase too. So it makes a lot of sense to be in these Midwestern cities and states. So again, if you wanted to become a homeowner in 2025 and don't necessarily make the income needed to be living in some of those big cities and become a homeowner with those medium home prices that you're looking for, these are some options that you have. And essentially, home ownership isn't dead in that sense that there are areas in the states that you can purchase properties. However, again, if you want to live in a city or you are born in a city that have very, very high home prices, then yes, it can make it very, very difficult. So what does the future of home ownership look like for everyday Americans? Well, number one, affordability will continue to decline. It is just the truth. Higher interest rates and limited wage growth, it's going to be pricing out many entry-level buyers. In 2025, the average U.S. home prices were up 5.4 times the median household income, and it's continuing to increase year over year as well. Number two, and inventory won't solve it alone, just because even though new construction is rising, most new homes are targeting middle to high income buyers just so that they can go ahead and cover their cost basis to make these new construction properties and developments. And so for these developers, they need to target those middle to high income buyers. Otherwise, they won't be able to make any money on the new construction homes that they actually build and create. So what that means for those who are not in that income bracket, it makes it even harder to purchase homes, and it makes it more difficult for them to even get into home ownership in 2025. So again, it's very, very difficult. And even though with some more new listings coming up, as we see more frequently now, even with additional listings, we haven't seen prices come significantly down. It has stabilized and has come down in some of the cities and markets. However, regardless of that, prices haven't come down in nearly enough where it needs to be for people to be able to comfortably afford homes, regardless of what their income looks like. I don't necessarily see home prices in 2025 or 2026 really come down nearly where it needs to get to for majority of the people to be able to afford home ownership. Household formation is also slowing as well. Young Americans are staying with family longer. First-time home buyer rates are down 15% since 2019. And it just not because that they want that to be the case, but because of the fact that they just can't afford to be a first-time home buyer, especially with the home prices at the moment. And home ownership will most likely stratify, meaning those who bought before 2021 will have a ton of equity. However, those who are entering the market now in 2025 are going to struggle with the 7% plus interest rates, down payment hurdles, and obviously the inflated pricing of these homes. So there's a big discrepancy between the buyers and the demand of what they have budget for versus the sellers who have a ton of equity and they want to cash out on their equity. However, they can't because the buyers don't necessarily have the fundamentals to purchase those homes. So it's becoming quite a difficult market in general for, again, those who have ownership and those who want to get out of their properties. It's easier to be a seller, especially if you have a lot of equity, just because you still have many other options that you can go towards. However, if you are looking to get into, again, home ownership, which is the topic here, it's definitely harder than it was previously. And here is a national snapshot versus a 5-year trend on how the U.S. home prices are averaging out and the mortgage rates and what that looks like and what the differences have been. So in 2020, the median home prices were $330,000. In 2025, now it's $420,000. So that's a 27% jump and delta in the difference between the two. 30-year mortgage rates 3.1% during the time of COVID. Now it's 7% in 2025. That's a 129% jump on interest rates. It's quite a bit. And as you can see here with the median household income, it hasn't jumped that much. In 2020 it was 68,700, 2025 74,580. And so that's an 8.5% bump as opposed to the jump in mortgage rates and the home prices. It just is not nearly enough to cover the differences. And so we can see here that the home price to income ratio due to that fact has gone up 12.5% to 5.4x, meaning home prices are 5.4 times more than what the household income typically is. And for the first time buyer shares, you can see it's down 15% since 2020 to 2025. Way less people are able to afford buying their very first property just because of the nature of what the economy is at the moment. So here's my final thoughts. Home ownership isn't necessarily dead in 2025, but it is harder than ever. The American dream of owning a home is shifting, and for some, it is still possible, but for many, renting or investing in more affordable markets might be a better path to wealth just because you can save more money. And if you are able to save more money, you can either put it into investment properties or stocks, whichever you prefer, right? And it just makes more sense. And as far as investors go, because that's the nature of the industry I'm in. Personally, I don't like to invest on speculation and speculation alone, which means that I don't want to just bank on my properties appreciating and hoping that that will be the case for the next 10, 20, 30 years. Although it could be the case, right? I just don't want to have that be the only source of exit. I like to invest in cash flowing assets with strong fundamentals and strategic markets, and that's what matters most to me. So, as Warren Buffett famously says, if you instead focus on the prospective price change of a contemplated purchase, you are speculating. There's nothing improper about that. Again, there's nothing wrong with it. But he says, I know, however, that I am unable to speculate successfully, and I am skeptical of those who claim sustained success at doing so. Half of all coin flippers will win their first toss. None of these winners have an expectation of profit if he continues to play the game. And the fact that a given asset has appreciated in the recent past is never a reason to buy. And I completely agree with him on that. I always want to make sure that the building or whatever I'm investing in has strong fundamentals and cash flow, because that is really what makes more sense to me than hoping that an asset will rise in value. So if this helped you make sense of what's happening in 2025, hit like, subscribe, drop your thoughts below. Would you buy in an expensive market, or are you looking elsewhere?